Hi, Crispin. I'm very happy to have you here at the Luminspino Powwow. We have been discussing about the possibility of having this talk today. And thank you for joining me from Brussels. I would like to ask you to introduce yourself a little bit for the audience.
Well, thanks very much. Thank you for having me, Raluca, and good afternoon, or wherever, everyone. I'm the deputy head of unit for a unit in the European Commission called Industrial Forum Alliances and Clusters. And we have a kind of combination of networks and fora for people to get together, both with the Industrial Forum, which gets together the big players, the member states, industry associations, and civil society, but also networks such as the Enterprise Europe Network, the European Clusters Network, and the Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs program.
Yeah, so actually you are dealing with many levels of the policy making and the policy enforcing, let's say. Actually, we met, this is for the listeners and the viewers to know that we met a few years ago, many years ago already, as part of the Enterprise Europe network. And ever since we remained in touch. I know that you have a very close affinity with the Enterprise Europe network, and this gives me the opportunity to ask you what keeps you running nowadays, what motivates you, what gives you that level of energy that you put every day.
No, I think that's absolutely right. I think the Enterprise Europe network keeps me running, but the reason it keeps me running is because, I can sit in my office here in Brussels and I can be, very happy with my life. But every time I step outside there, I'm seeing small companies, entrepreneurs, people who are making a living, people are driving change, trying to do things. And that's what kind of makes me curious and this is what I love about what we do in the EEN, is it's about supporting those companies with ambition, and really helping them to kind of grow and to tap their full potential. I mean, I just love this stuff, and I love dealing with the network advisors. We've got now nearly 430 organizations across Europe, and we have a kind of global network beyond that. And every time I talk to these guys, it just inspires me, the work they do in advising companies and kind of helping them to kind of connect to each other and to innovate.
Indeed, I wanted to ask you, how close do you get the chance to be to the companies, to the managers? Do you
not
get
as close as I would like.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that we are at one or two removes. And yeah, I love to meet entrepreneurs. Every time I get out there to national conferences or I get to talk, and just hearing the practical issues, and particularly right now, I mean, we are in a horrible confluence here, where we've had nearly 2.5 years of the pandemic, and we're still clearly not over that. And I think a lot of us are worried about what's coming in the autumn. We've had supply chain disruption, and then we have this awful situation with the unprovoked Russian aggression in Ukraine. And now we have a confluence of those in inflationary pressures. And that's kind of what motivates me, is how we help those companies not only get out of it, but achieve long-term growth and success, because we kind of owe it to them to kind of support them in getting out of that, in terms of access to finance, in terms of helping to connect them to potential partners.
Mm-hmm. And what did change for you? Because you changed your position within the European Commission right in the middle of this turmoil with the COVID. How did that change for you?
It was a big transition that we made in March last year. And yeah, it was really difficult because you couldn't really physically connect colleagues. But what it gave us the opportunity was firstly to connect the work we're doing with the Enterprise Europe Network with what is happening in European cluster organizations and clusters and really produce synergies. And there already we've done some interesting events. We had a joint matchmaking in Singapore. We've been working very closely on the response to the situation in Ukraine. We're looking at how we can constantly amplify what each other's doing. But it has also allowed us to kind of connect what we're doing at the network level on the ground in Europe with the wider industrial policy making and the work we're doing through the Industrial Forum. And a particular area that we're looking at right now is what we call the transition pathways, the way in which individual industries, individual industrial ecosystems have to make the move to sustainability, to digitalization, and can become more resilient to the kind of shocks we've seen in the past 2.5 years.
We were, I remember that we discussed at some point about what this context, this challenging context means, and how we perceive it and how we deal with it. And I was saying, and I'm still saying this right now, when us in Romania, we spent the time of the communist regime, that was not easy. It was, it was, of course, a different type of life, maybe more peaceful, let's say, but on the other hand, very closed in. Then we had the transition after the revolution, which was again not easy. After that, the accession to the European Union, striving to achieve development, failing or succeeding, not easy by all means. And before the pandemic, there were a few years that were more stable, let's say. And then again, we have even more uncertain times. So looking into the past, I cannot remember a moment that was absolutely easy, you know, that we could. And I know that you spent time in the UK and the US. And perhaps you have a similar recollection, but with other contexts.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I grew up in the 1970s in the UK, and to be honest, it wasn't a very happy place. The empire had gone, and the British were kind of struggling to refine their role. And obviously at the time they were investing in Europe, and you know, for reasons that I very much disagree with, they've chosen not to go there. But it was a time of power cuts, it was a time of industrial unrest, it was a time of other shocks, the OPEC oil price shocks. So yeah, it's difficult, but you know, you talk about all of this and this word resilience that we talk about. You know, I was talking with my team just now because we're all setting off for the summer, and talking about the way that the kind of stressful events that we've all been through, they kind of, it's a bit like, and I'm a cyclist, I cycle up a lot of hills, and every time you cycle up a hill, it kind of builds a muscle. And that's what I feel with this lockdown, with, you know, the tremendous strain that I saw on us all with this aggression in Ukraine. It builds a muscle of resilience, and it means that the next time, I don't know if you feel this from your, you know, that actually having been through what you've been through in Romania, it actually meant that you could come into a situation like the lockdown and have something to fall back on, because you thought, you know, I've been through stuff like this before. And I think we could end up having a phenomenally resilient generation. You know, we could, and I think the next year or 2 years can be very difficult, but we could come out of this in a really strong way. And by the way, not just strong in terms of economically, but strong in terms of what we're doing for the planet. One of the things we've been doing with the EN is what we call sustainability advisors, putting in place people who can give companies a real advice on how to make the transition to energy efficiency, better waste management, how they can do it and can win from it, rather than it being a kind of an upfront cost that takes them years to recover from. So out of the seeds of all of this difficulty, I think if you use them right, you can take these challenges and they can become an opportunity for growth.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And the metaphor with the cycling is really fit for this. And while we are working every day, because it's also this subject about short term, long term. Okay,
Yeah.
I work every day. I'm asking myself from time to time, okay, am I on the good track? Am I not?
Yeah.
Should I do more of this, more of that? If you look on the long term,
Yeah.
not that long term that we make a strategy and it's linear.
Mm.
Nowadays we cannot deal
Mm.
anymore with linear strategies and linear action plans. We don't go
Yeah, I
from
agree.
A to B. We don't know where is B. But anyway,
Yeah.
looking on the long term, where do you see that your work and your passion is most valuable for?
You know, as you say, I don't know. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. All I can say, and you know, I'm starting. I've been reflecting on these things. I passed a certain kind of age milestone last year, and that's one where you kind of think, well, I've got a decade and a half. But what I kind of feel is, you know, I've been in both the public sectors and the private sectors. I think both of them had a lot of value. But what is really important to me is to continue to deliver impact for the people out there, the people in deprived regions, the people, the long-term unemployed, the innovators, the people with really great ideas, and to help them make the change. You know, the change can't come from me, it can't come from you, no matter how good we are. What we can do is to try and facilitate people, to remove the locks on them, to give them the boost. And that's what really is important to me, is helping them to become more sustainable, helping them to make this digital this digital move. And whether that means for me in the long term being in the private sector, being in the public sector, continuing in the commission, I don't know. But but what I really enjoy is working with others to kind of enable change and to enable positive change and improving. I come from a family of public servants. My father and his father were in the Navy, and this stuff is really important. It is really taking our societies forward.
Hmm. Yeah, it's more like into the compassion. It's a compassion driven,
Yeah.
and it's I see that you are as well an idealist concerning the fate of of Earth and humankind. Do you think you are an idealist? Because you spoke like one. It's
No,
a good thing. It's not a critique.
I don't know.
I'm an
It's a very,
idealist as well. My idealism is put to test every day, but I remain one.
I don't know. I will have to reflect on that. I don't know if I'm an idealist. I guess I'm just somebody who never ever gives up. And I think that I'm persistent. And, you know, whether you win or you lose, you just keep on going, because I think you owe it to people to keep on going. I owe it to my team. I owe it to the Enterprise Europe Network members who are putting it out there. And I owe it above all to the companies and the entrepreneurs out there to keep on going. And yeah, I mean, there is such potential. Now, whether we achieve this or not, I can't say, because there are other forces that we've seen, more malign forces, and we see them not just in Russia, but in other parts of the world as well, and threats to the way we're doing it. But I just kind of think you have a kind of duty to resist that and to project. You know, I don't know if my grandfather in the thick of the Second World War had a complete faith that we would triumph over fascism, but I think he just knew that he had a duty. And if he can do that, I think you and I, you know, we have a duty to just do our best every day. You know, maybe it's
Yeah,
bloody mindedness. I don't know. It's
it is bloody mindedness as well, and well, it's also the matter that we are equipped for. We are equipped in many ways for
yeah,
yeah, trying to do the best and
yeah,
doing the best that we can. Crispin, really enlightening and really an optimistic talk that we had today. in amid of all this turmoil and all the bad news that arrive
yeah,
every day, indeed we should rise above.
There is so
and
much good that's out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
there are
yeah,
so
yeah.
many good people trying to do the right thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for today, and well, I wish you a great summer, and we will see each other soon in mid-July.
Thanks a lot, Relica. Thanks a
Bye,
lot, everyone.
Crispin. Bye, Crispin.